What's up, everybody? Real Rendezvous back at it again with another Rendezvous review. Not news this time.
Not news this time.
Brett, what are we reviewing today?
Guys, today we are taking a look at The Crow 2024 edition.
So we have reviewed.
Yes. This is a rare instance, maybe the first instance
Perhaps.
on the channel of
so.
reviewing an original and then the remake.
I believe so.
Maybe we'll make that a habit at some point.
Or one could word it as
reimagining.
Another retelling of source material.
Yes.
When did the original come out? The first one?
The first Crow came out, I believe it was
93? 94.
94 sounds more correct.
92?
You don't have it in your book, Hunter?
Actually, I do. And
you don't have it in your book of wonders?
It's really not too far back, to be honest.
Dad's watching Ang Lee's Hulk, and he just sent me a picture of the TV and captioned it horrible.
94.
Okay. I was going to check, but I was caught off guard by Ang Lee Hulk slander.
That Hulk movie does have some of the worst CGI.
It does, but you know what? It kind of had a layer of sauce to it.
It's been so long since I've watched that.
It's got the editing is like it edits itself into like comic panels. There's a scene where like Hulk blows up a tank and it like blows up a guy, but then it like freeze frames and outlines everything in white to look like a comic panel.
Really?
I think it's pretty neat. I'm not saying that movie's good by any means, but
Ang Lee's kind of
he was trying something.
He's kind of like a pretty big deal director.
Yeah?
I've never seen, I don't think, any of his movies.
Literally the only thing I know about him is Hulk.
No, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but let me use my handheld computer here. I believe he directed, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen it.
No, neither have I, but I've heard of it.
I know that movie took home all kinds of Oscars the year it came out. 7.9 out of 10 Metacritic score on IMDb. He also directed, here we go, Life of Pi.
Oh, okay.
I know everybody loved that.
Yeah.
He directed Brokeback Mountain, which got a lot of big reviews.
Goodness.
There's other ones on here.
Ang Lee, I didn't know you had that dog in you like that.
He's got some cool, I love how all these directors that are Chinese born and from China all have a background in making it big in kung fu movies.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of them. Well, in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I'm sure a lot of people would say is top 5 kung fu movies. I've never seen it. What a cool movie title. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah.
But anyways, so back to what we're actually here for.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the original Crow movie came out in 1994.
Yep.
Yes, 1994.
30 years ago.
That's
Insane.
I wasn't alive 30 years ago. 10 years before my time.
I was barely alive.
Roughly 11 years before my time is when this movie came out. So I was a little late to the party. But so we've reviewed that Crow movie before, but just a very quick recap. I adore the original Crow. I think it's a fantastic movie. I love pretty much everything about it. I love the way that it's made. I love the way that it's shot. I love the way the characters are written and interact with each other. And if you want more detailed thoughts about that movie, by all means, please
check out our review.
Check out our review of 1994's The Crow.
Look at you plugging a review within the review.
I mean, I do it a lot, actually.
Real Rendezvous Inception.
Real Rendezception.
Real Rendezception. That'll be a new segment we come up with. I also enjoyed the movie. I don't enjoy it quite as much as Brett does. And like he said, we talk about this ad nauseum in that review, so check it out. But it is a good film. And it is a film that has a very carnivorous cult following.
Yes.
Nobody wanted this to get fucked with. And they fucked with it, as they do. This movie just came out.
Yes, hot off the presses. It came out yesterday. At the time of recording, this movie launched yesterday.
Yeah, it came out Friday, August 23rd. I'm going to go ahead and get into it here a little bit.
Well, sorry. I'm going to drop some background on this.
Go ahead.
So, if you guys have been following the show,
that's what I was gonna do, the director, starring, and we could,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to fuck up your flow. I'm sorry. I didn't want to skip over it though because we have some history with this.
Dispel.
I'll dispel. So if you've been following the show for a while, you know that we have talked a decent amount of times about this movie. We followed its progression fairly closely from announcement to when they first revealed the photos of Eric Draven's new look with Bill Skarsgård. Mm-hmm. And then when that first trailer came out, we talked about it. And then now we are here at the release of the movie. And if you've seen those episodes and heard those opinions of ours, you will remember and recognize that both of us were very, very skeptical and a bit pessimistic in terms of how this movie was going to turn out. Mm-hmm. And it's because of that cult following and that reverence I have for the original. And I'm not one to like automatically dislike new interpretations of things. I love new interpretations of things. We were just talking before we got on the mic about how like I honestly think like if you change it up enough and give it to the right creative teams, you don't have to wait like decades to reboot or reimagine a franchise. I think change and iteration is very important, especially in art, and that's why I'm always been a huge advocate for live action adaptations of things. There's a lot of people that think you just shouldn't ever do them, and granted, they don't normally turn out great, but I would never say that they're unnecessary, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's just another way to enjoy a thing that you like. But obviously, reboots, remakes, reimaginings do not have a great track record in the film industry, especially when it comes to highly renowned and held films from the past. So this one was very divisive on its road to release.
Yeah. So a lot of people wrote this thing off even before it. Even before the trailer. Whenever it was just announced. And nothing leading up to it really gave it any sense of, comfort towards the fans of the previous film. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as there were those images dropped of what he looked like and then the following trailer, everybody was like, wow, this looks like shit. I'm not going to enjoy this, blah, 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 blah.
Us included.
Yes, we did. We had our problems with it, so to say.
We were being accosted by the tiniest little moth you've ever seen. Oh, I think nope, you didn't get him. He's on your knee. He's by your knee, unless there were two. I was going to ignore him, but he was getting very close to our microphones.
He was doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I know. He's trying to tell us your thoughts on the brand new Crow movie.
It's just the moth fluttering. Live audience, live studio audience. That's the moth. But yeah, anyways, so this movie was not going to be held in high regard, so to speak, from the fans of the previous film. And we were, like Brett said, had our problems with the previously released material. But, as we're movie fans. Mm-hmm. We want to give shit a chance. We've talked about plenty of times that we like Bill Skarsgård.
Yes.
And, there were some things in that first trailer I thought looked okay. So we ended up seeing this and could have been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
But now we'll get into that and we'll tell you if that's the case.
So this movie is directed by Rupert Sanders. It stars Bill Skarsgård.
Any relation to the Colonel?
Yeah, I think it was his great grandpappy.
Yeah. Don't Google that. Just
this guy's not actually. This guy never made a career as a director. He just used all the money he got from his grandfather's chicken fortune.
The 13th Urban Spice was filmmaking equipment.
It stars Bill Skarsgård. FKA Twigs is her name.
That's
recording artist, I guess.
I've heard the name before, but I have no idea who she is.
I never have. I have not heard it. And then Danny Houston. This movie had a budget roughly estimated at $50 million, and so far it's only grossed $2 million worldwide. But as we said,
in the one day it's been out,
it just came out yesterday.
Which honestly, I don't know how that'll check out over the weekend, but $2 million opening night doesn't sound too bad to me.
The theater we were in
Yeah, there was
a decent
amount of people there tonight.
It wasn't
and
full,
we saw
but
it pretty early. We caught a 4:00, 4:15,
right around 4:00.
Yeah, and there was a decent amount of people in that theater for a 4:00 movie. So I would imagine like tonight, over the course of the night, and then of course going in, finishing out the weekend.
Right. And then I always like to drop the score because I like scores. The score is by Volker Bertelmann.
It's a cool ass name.
Cool name. That's like the second time we've had a guy with just a badass.
It's always the composers, man.
Right. Yeah. So this movie, like we said, it just dropped yesterday, and you know how like critics always have their early review drops or whatever, and a lot of things aren't looking positive so far. What did you say this debuted with a 0%?
No.
That was Borderlands.
Yes. Okay. So just last weekend, or maybe the weekend before that, Borderlands debuted its Rotten Tomatoes critic score at a 0%. It has since risen to a 10%. And I believe this movie, The Crow, debuted with a 6%.
That's what it was.
Yes.
And if you want to see more of Brett's opinion on Borderlands, check out the most recent Rondé News episode. So if you aren't familiar with the
links to any mentioned episodes in the description.
Good plug. If you aren't familiar with the story, as we said, it was adapted in 1994 in a film. The story is originally a graphic novel by James O'Barr, illustrated and written. It is... What is it?
Oh, so I was just going to say, which, if you are familiar with the original story of the original film, still take a listen, because we've got some, just right off the bat, we've got some big changes.
Yeah. So soulmates Eric and Shelley are brutally murdered. Given a chance to save the love of his life, Eric must sacrifice himself and traverse the worlds of the living and the dead on a quest for vengeance. That's basically the plot of it.
Okay, never mind. I guess the log line didn't actually change, but the intricacies get different.
Yeah, I mean that's the general plot. But so I've always heard that original one is pretty faithful to the source material. And another moth.
I think it's the same one. I still don't think we got him.
That one was more gnat-like. I'll crush his soul here in a minute. But anyways,
big moth problem in the Real Rendezvous studio.
Yeah, they came out of nowhere. They didn't bother us earlier. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. Damn you moths.
You're talking about how the graphic novel was the first movie was pretty faithful.
Yes, and I don't think that fans love that so much because they were such big fans of the source material. I just think that the story was pretty good at its source.
I would argue and wager a guess that most The Crow fans are fans of the movie first.
Right. Yeah.
Book second.
And that movie was kind of a big deal. It got that, I don't want to say posthumous bump, but when Brandon Lee passed afterwards, it kind of helped raise it up from that cult following.
Yeah.
This movie strays a little bit more from the source material. And like I said, I already went down with the plot. There's a lot of things that aren't executed the same way as the first movie, whereas it's a little bit more, which the first one has supernatural things in it. This one, in my opinion, is even more supernaturally tinged.
Very much so.
Because we don't just have the supernatural occurrences happening with the titular character. The main villain in this movie is... he's not a devil. He's not a demon.
No, he's just a guy. He made a deal with the devil.
Yeah, he's almost like into some satanic witchcraft or something like that. He's like a Faustian character, like you said, made a deal with the devil. And there's some other elements that I think kind of work in the movie's favor. It introduces this like limbo-esque world between the living realm and heaven and hell. And like I said, this is not in the first movie, so it kind of strays from that. I can see people having a problem with this. I've heard in some other reviews people did not like the angle that they took with the villain. And he is kind of cookie cutter in all of his dialogue and stuff. But in general, I kind of like that, though. Because it's trying, like you said earlier, it's trying not to just be a direct remake of the original.
This is definitely just right off the bat. And that's why you probably won't hear me from, as we get farther into the review, you probably won't even hear me refer back to the original very often at all, because right off the gate, just from the first few minutes, this is a completely different movie. for all intents and purposes, it bears pretty much zero resemblance to the original outside of the two main characters sharing the names of the two main characters from that original movie.
Right.
Everything else we get here is completely original to this film. Still adapted from the books, just not adapted from the same one book that the original film was. Because there are a multitude of Crow books that follow different stories and different villains. And so we have taken Eric and Shelley, but we have put them in the context of a new set of villains that are, I believe, taken from either the second or third run of the Crow.
And another thing that has been changed just straight off the bat, in the first film, a lot of what we know of Shelley and Eric's relationship is all told through flashback sequences and from Eric's memory. And this one, we spend the first hour, I would say, of the movie with Eric and Shelley, how they meet. They're in rehab together.
Yes.
And I'm going to say it right now and go ahead and get it out of the way. This first part of the movie really sucks.
It's a bit of a slog.
This has to be a big reason why a lot of the bad reviews coming out hate on it so much, because the first hour of the movie we spend with awkward emo boy Eric with all of his face tats and shit, meeting mysterious drug dealer type Shelley when they meet up in rehab. And a lot of their dialogue is really poorly written. I'm kind of bouncing around here, but it's almost like you ordered it really well. It looks like a bunch of sad girl Tumblr quotes.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't really buy that they're just love at first sight. It's more lust, not love. And Eric is just not. He has no riz at all in this first hour.
Yeah, guy. So in the original. In the original movie, Eric Draven is sort of, he's a very suave type character, at least before death. We see him, he's very confident in himself. He's very suave. He's a successful rock star. He's famous, basically, for the most part. And he carries himself a very specific way. In this one, that he is not like that at all. He is anxious. He is reserved. He is so awkward. And it's a very different take on the character. It's a lot of the stuff in this movie is going to be very divisive, I think, because it's going to work for some people and it's not going to work for others. Spoiler alert: it worked for me.
Yeah, that's why, because he's like a Gen Z empath, and he's so backwards. I don't fault them for trying. Like I said, it is nice to see them try to do something different. I just in general think that the way he was written, at least for this first half, was not fun. And I genuinely didn't really like Shelley's character throughout most of the movie, pretty much all of the movie.
If you cringe easily or get secondhand embarrassment easily, a lot of this dialogue is really going to grate on you.
Yeah, it made me roll my eyes at least two or three times.
It's a lot of... can we give an example? Do you have one off the top of your head real quick?
And they try to make it a staple of the movie because she says it two more times. If you ever quit loving me.
If I get hard to love, just love me harder.
Yeah, it sounds like a Billy Ray Cyrus song or something.
And then when they're in the bathtub together, they're bonding, and his bonding question, he's like, "What's the worst thing you've ever done?"
Yeah.
It's all very, very Tumblr Midwest emo. Eric Draven in this movie, or sorry, just Eric.
Yeah, they actually never give his last name.
Not even in the synopsis you read, I realized. He's just Eric. I did not pay enough attention to the credits to see if he was credited as Eric Draven or just as Eric. I'll look into that. But Eric is definitely your Machine Gun Kelly type. That was their archetype. They looked at Machine Gun Kelly.
That was 100% the inspiration for his character.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy Alyssa really likes? That blue guy? Blue. What's his name? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know. I can't remember his name, but that type of guy.
Same archetype of guy. Yeah.
Yeah, this movie, like I said, you can tell that they modeled Eric's character after a Machine Gun Kelly type. He's tall, skinny, ripped,
and
covered in tattoos that makes zero sense.
Yeah,
and he's got the fuckboy mohawk mullet thing going on,
which I think it works for him. I think it's a good look for him.
I'm not a hater because my haircut's very similar.
Yeah.
So.
And then on to match Eric's Machine Gun Kelly emo boy persona we have, and I don't know if you're going to get this comparison as much because I don't know if you know anything about her, but our Shelley in this go around is very much Melanie Martinez.
I'm not aware of who she is.
It's pretty much 1-to-1. So just like think of how Shelley was in the movie and then turn her into a pop star.
Yeah,
Melanie Martinez. She even does like the same mouth thing that we were clowning on in the car. We like purse the lips to show off the like gap buck teeth. Yeah. It's total Melanie Martinez. So you can definitely see the inspirations of where they're getting these characterizations, and even in the way that they both speak to each other and the way they carry themselves. It's very clear the inspiration they were drawing from. And for the most part, again, it's yes, like the hair and everything. Hunter just showed me a picture of Melanie Martinez. I didn't even make the correlation. She even wears her hair very similarly to how Melanie Martinez will wear it, like the double braids. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I again, it's all going to come down to personal opinion and how much of that you can take before it falls apart for you. My threshold is a little bit higher. It mostly worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of already said what I had to say there on that. It just... I would have liked it better if they'd have been written a little... They just weren't believable for me as a couple being in love.
Oh, well, absolutely that.
And I just really didn't enjoy... also, which, you know, I understand the demographic they're going for and what image they're trying to portray. But like you said, when they're talking in the bathtub, they're just like smoking a joint. Yeah, and later they trip acid.
All we see these people do is drugs and fuck.
Yeah.
And that is like, the movie considers that the pinnacle of true love.
Yeah. That's literally what it is portrayed as.
Whereas again, if we shoot back to the original for a moment, Eric and Shelley's love was a much realer, much tamer. They were getting married. They were getting married. They were murdered on their wedding night, and it was and even in those flashbacks, just the way they held each other was so much more tender. There was so much less intent, you know, ill intent behind their actions towards each other, as opposed to this one, which is very, very fast paced, hardcore, you know, that sort of thing.
They met in rehab, for God's sake.
They met in rehab and broke out of rehab together. By the way, side note, weirdest fucking rehab center I've ever seen portrayed
like
in a movie.
Penitentiary.
This place is a prison. It's a mental institution. It's a rehab facility.
It's the worst guarded prison of all time, too.
There's 2 guards.
Mental facility, whatever.
There are 2 guards in the entire facility. Also, very contradictory facility. We have 2 scenes back to back in this movie where I'm going to call them inmates, are doing jumping jacks in the yard and getting like screamed at that they're not good enough by the guards. And then we cut immediately to a therapy circle where the guy's like, step forward if you've ever felt underappreciated or abused. Like, yeah, dude, 30 fucking seconds ago.
Yeah, the drill sergeant screaming in your face.
Yeah. And then they had Eric doing an exercise where like they just let like a group of people beat the fuck out of him and yell mean things at him.
Very weird.
What are we doing here?
But after we bounce from that facility, we learn of what Shelley's background is. So she's involved with some bad people. All the bad people root back to, I think his name was Vincent Rogue. It was Vincent Rogue. Yeah. Portrayed by Danny Houston. And so this guy is basically a normal man, but he's immortal. The way he's gained immortality is through finding young people that are gullible and sacrificing them. They have to be innocents that are portrayed to go to heaven, but he sacrifices them and sends them to hell in exchange for his immortality. He's got this weird chant that he can like possess people with, and Shelley roots back to him. She's on the run. That's how she ends up in rehab. When the people that work for Rogue come to find her in rehab, her and Eric break out. They hunt Eric and her down, and then that's how they end up being killed. Mm-hmm. And then we're introduced to this Limbo world, which I thought looked really cool.
Yes, the Limbo world was very well done, in my opinion.
I told Brett it reminded me of, like, in Bloodborne, whenever you die, and you can go to, like, the little in-between world and, like, buy stuff and, like, upgrades, and shit like that. I never got into Bloodborne real hardcore, but it just reminded me of that. And I did like that element to the movie. then whenever Eric comes back with his immortality to seek vengeance from the power of the crows or whatever, he goes through some bumbling where he doesn't realize. He realizes, but he doesn't know how to fully embrace his newly found invulnerability, immortality rather. And a lot of that stuff was really cool to me too. So I liked Limbo. I liked whenever he came back and, he first gets shot and stabbed and he learns that he can heal. And this is whenever he starts to try to get the ball rolling on the revenge. He doesn't get to talk much. And then whenever he does still talk, he still just sounds so like Weasley emo. And I'll be honest.
I really like. I like that juxtaposition. I love a fish out of water hero, a reluctant, like, I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway type. Like, I have a mission. Who knows how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to get there.
Well, I do enjoy that fact that it was like, and especially later in the movie, whenever he realizes, like, I can just get shot.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I can just keep going. I do like that. You can tell he's not like some kind of trained professional at murdering people. But I just mean in general, like anytime he opens his mouth, he sounds like a sniveling wuss. And I kind of don't like that because, not to compare it to the original, but Brandon Lee's Eric Draven
was very intimidating.
He wasn't just intimidating either. Like you said, he just had a certain swagger and cockiness to him throughout the movie. The
way Brandon Lee's Eric Draven speaks throughout that movie is an absolute highlight. The entire way that movie is written. Yeah. Again, we go over all of this in very, very sharp detail in our full review of it, but that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, especially, again, like I said in that review, just scenes of him talking to people were probably my favorite scenes of the movie just because of the way he carries himself and the way he's written. And we lose a lot of that because, and I think the biggest difference is the way our two Erics handle coming back from the dead. One of them, it takes a intense mental toll on them. Coming back from the dead is an event that has changed the structure of who this man is forever. And the other one just wakes up and he's like, shit, I'm not dead anymore? Fuck yeah.
Yeah. But I just think that that's one of the biggest detracting factors of this movie, though, is just in general the characters. Like, there's nobody that we can really stick to, not even our main protagonist. And I do know that you said you enjoy kind of his snivelingness. I guess.
Spoiler alert, I really did enjoy this movie, which trust me, I am just as surprised as you guys are, and I'll try to defend myself the further we get into this. But I don't know. Eric in this movie just worked for me. I don't know. I can't really put a pin on to why.
I think he looked good.
I just liked him. He had an affability to him.
He was very hot.
He was fun to watch. It was fun to watch him figure things out. And I don't know. I really just, it just kind of clicked with me. Everything he does kind of works for me personality wise that didn't quite catch on for you.
I guess most people didn't get that vibe.
And maybe it is, and you brought it, maybe not like the anti-Riz incel thing, but just like the sort of the bumbling hero, like inexperience. I do kind of I relate to him, I see myself in that.
Well, see, like some of the physical acting going on, like his physical personality is like, I do like that too. Like I said, I love the fact that throughout this entire movie, he doesn't look like a trained fighter at any point, but just his dialogue and the way he acts and talks sucks, in my opinion. I feel like they kind of was hoping that most people would just love him because Bill Skarsgård has like 0.2% body fat and takes his shirt off half a dozen times in this movie.
I think that's also because I kind of like that he's like really he is like this really hot jacked guy and he just doesn't act like it. He's just like, hey guys, I'm just here, I'm hanging out.
We all want to be that really hot jacked guy that nobody knows is hot and jacked.
He's very demure.
Demure. This is a new term Alyssa just told me about recently.
Yes.
What is
He's very mindful and demure.
What is mindful and demure? What is it?
I think it just means like understated, like in your lane.
He's low key.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Until he takes his shirt off and you're like, that guy works out every day.
Yeah. Except he doesn't. He just smokes 17 cigarettes and takes 9 ecstasy.
Which is funny too, because like there's a scene, like the one time we see him doing any actual physical fitness in this movie, he's doing like jumping jacks. He's like half-assing them. He gets his face ripped off by the drill sergeant for like not doing them properly. Now, I'm going to get to something positive, and I'm just bouncing around everywhere.
Yeah, well,
We'll be all right.
it's fine.
Yeah, you guys know how we do. But I'm going to get to something positive, the biggest positive thing of this movie. After you get through the slog that is the first hour or so of this movie, he revisits Limbo, he gets killed again, and he has to make an actual deal with, like, I don't even know.
Yeah, that guy doesn't have a name.
Yeah, I don't know, the crow guy.
There's a guy in Crow Limbo who kind of like runs the place.
See, what I wanted to say he was maybe like St. Peter, the ferryman that takes you across what's the river called? The River Styx.
If you look at the cast, what's that guy credited as?
You go.
Yeah, I'll check it.
There. But so he gets this deal made and then comes back, and then that's whenever the makeup gets donned, and the final 30-40 minutes of this movie is actually really badass. There's this whole sequence where he goes into an opera house to hunt down Danny Houston's character, and all of his minions attack him, and he goes up like this triple flight of stairs into the opera house, and the whole fight sequence is super brutal, super good looking, like visceral violence. Like,
yes.
He's chopping heads off, he's chopping arms off. The whole time he's getting shot too, like, and just taking it, eating the bullets. And while this is happening, we're also seeing this really epic, like, eerie operatic performance, and it's all like to the tune of this operatic performance going on in the other room. And he's like I said, like, chopping heads off. He turns the dude into a fucking Pez dispenser. It all looks really good.
Bisects a guy at the jaw.
Like, he's like straight goes Yoshimitsu from Tekken and stabs himself, like, to stab a guy behind him, dude.
This film's greatest quality above all else is how creative they get with the immortality, which I will say is a negative in the original. I feel like in the original movie they do not use his immortality to its fullest effect. It's just sort of a thing. Like, honestly, if he wasn't immortal in the original movie, most of it would go down pretty much the same. But in this one, he's shooting through his torso to shoot a guy behind him. He's having a sword stick out of his chest and throwing himself onto people to stab them with the sword that's lodged into him.
If one of their goals was to really, what's the word I'm looking for here? Take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Like if
play it up.
If one of their goals was to say, this guy cannot die, let's show that. Yeah. Like, goal achieved. Like, they did. Yes. They get an A+ in that department.
There's another scene, his first, like, attempt to fight a person, and it's pretty much a 1-to-1 frame translation of the Deadpool car fight from the first movie, which is a damn good fight. So, I mean, if you're gonna take anything for anything, but he gets thrown out of the car
and then gets ran,
and we watch him get fucking destroyed by a semi-truck. And it is visceral, and it is awesome to see him just get back up after that.
And when he gets back up, like, he feels the pain of all of these wounds.
He feels all of it.
And we can, like, it shows his body healing, like his bones, like, sinnowing back together.
Yeah, and all the effects are wonderful.
It looks really nasty.
They are disgusting.
Yeah, it looks gross in the best way possible. But after this, like, big shootout in the opera, like, he even, like, gets, like, he starts getting swagger, man. He takes these decapitated heads and throws them in the crowd. He hunts down one of Rogue's minions and gives her this little, like, shining her on before he chops her head off. And then when he finally has the big showdown with Rogue, there's just a little bit of conversation. It's not like a big boss fight or anything like that, but he basically takes him to Limbo.
Just beats the fuck out of him, dude.
Yeah, it's really violent, and you get to see, like, these, I don't know what they are, but it's like demons of hell,
like hell
suck
snakes,
him down.
Yeah.
And the whole way this movie ended was pretty tight. And I'm going to be straight honest with you. The last 30 minutes of this movie saved my opinion of what this was going to be, because I was really like, wow, everybody was totally right about this. Yeah, I was like, I guess I'll just agree with everything everybody's saying. But no, man, like, if you like that visceral action, John Wick type shit, I know people are saying this and, like, they're mad about it, but, you know, when I was young and I did see, this is a big reason why I think that Brandon Lee's Crow never really stuck with me, is because, you know, I'm a little kid whenever I first watched this, and I'm thinking, like, this guy's going to be like a badass and whip a bunch of ass, and he kind of doesn't. I mean, there's a couple cool scenes, but in general, it's not heavy on the action. and this scratches that itch. I've been using that phrase a lot. I'm gonna have to quit using that.
It's not a bad phrase.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it articulates the point.
Yeah, and it's like giving us that gratuitous violence that is popular nowadays. So, and it's well choreographed too.
Yes,
it's not like it's just shaky cam.
No, it all has a wonderful flow to it.
Like I
while
said,
still feeling inexperienced and sort of visceral.
And you can see like where the gunmen that he's fighting against kind of have training and know what they're doing and stuff. And I really like the ending sequence of this movie, and it really helped pull it out of hell, so to speak, in my review here.
Yeah. I don't have much more to add to that. It's phenomenal. All of it is great. I will say, love the addition of giving him a sword as his like main weapon.
Yeah, it was sick.
It's fucking sick, dude. And I love, and again, it just goes back to that, like, it's like he's coming into his own and he's ready to go massacre these guys, but he's still kind of a dweeb. He picks up that sword and then looks in the mirror and compares himself to like an anime poster.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Right? Exactly. It feels very human. It feels very human and very real, despite the circumstances and some of the shaky dialogue. And it's just something I think it's a take that I really enjoyed.
So those like tiny samurai swords. Back in the day, they had their katana, and then the smaller one was for like high-ranking like samurai. They're called a wakizashi.
Okay, fuck yeah.
Yeah, and that's what that was. He gets like a little one.
Also, the guy in Limbo is credited as Kronos.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of badass.
Yeah.
Like the time god.
I mean, I can fuck with it.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking sick. But yeah, so I love the sword. I like. And then like at this point he's absorbed. He's gone full crow. It's crowing time, and he's about to crow all over the place. He's crowed in. He went back to Limbo after getting his ass kicked, and Kronos was like, "Damn, you fucking suck." And he's like, "Well, make me better then." And he's like, "All right, but you can't come back after this."
And that's not the exact dialogue.
No, but it might as well be.
It would probably be better if that's what it was.
No, the stuff in Limbo goes off pretty well, I think.
I think
the Limbo stuff is written pretty succinctly.
I do like their exchanges, and I can't really decide if the vagueness of what they say with him and then the way the movie concludes, I can't decide if I like how vague it is or if I am perturbed by it.
But they give him extra crow power. It turns his blood black, and I think he either at this point he's used to the pain, or maybe the extra crow power is making it a little bit more bearable. Because he does still say later on in the scene that he still feels all of it, but he's just tanking these hits, dude. He doesn't give it. He's barely flinching at this shit at this point. And so just watching him, it's like, because that would be terrifying, right? It's sort of like how you deal with like Tyrant in Resident Evil. Just imagine you're those guys loading this, for all you know at that point, regular dude full of bullets, and all the blood is black, and he's just like, he wants you fucking dead.
It's like Kaylee said, I just would have like ran away.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm giving up. I'm quitting immediately. But that whole segment, and then after, and so the deal he makes to get the extra crow power is that Shelley will come back to life, but he will be lost in Limbo forever. He will be trapped there. His soul will not be able to return to the land of the living at will. And so he finishes off Rogue, sends him to super hell, and then the bargain is fulfilled. Shelley rises up from the underworld she was trapped in, and they say their final goodbyes, and she gets to go back to the land of the living, and we get sort of a parallel to when he first woke up and she was dead, but now she wakes up and Eric is gone, and he's just traversing Crow World, and he looks fucking sick.
Yeah.
Like the visual, again, and then another thing about it, the visuals I think are really great. We were dogging on his look when those pictures came out. We were dogging on the tattoos and stuff. And man, in the movie, it just works.
Well, look, I'm like,
for me personally,
I'm an advocate for tattoos. His tattoos look stupid because they just like are kind of.
If you look at them too closely, they get stupid. But like as a like pulled back, and he's so covered in blood for half the movie, you don't see any of it anyway.
Well, and I think we would agree though, the trench coat that he rocks at the end is
badass.
And he wears like high top black Vans too, which is, I like. But I agree. I think his look was pretty cool, aside from some of the tattoos. But the trench coat was badass. I love that.
I need that coat.
He was dripping for sure. Yeah, man. I mean, I really don't have anything else to say.
Yeah, You want to jump into the final thoughts?
Yeah, man. I can do that.
All right.
You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first because
Go ahead.
I feel like I always save like all my like specific stuff for my final thoughts, and then you take your specific stuff and you spread it throughout the things. So then like I have really long final thoughts, and then you're like, yeah, well, I pretty much said everything I have to say. 7 out of 10.
well, shout out Horror Movie Club podcast because I just kind of like try to emulate them. Mm-hmm. Masters. But anyways, what they always do is have like a nice, sweet, concise statement for like their final thoughts with the rating.
Nothing about my thoughts are ever sweet and concise. So unfortunately, I will not be able to join you on that journey.
Brett likes to use all the words.
I do. As many. I'm filling up that word count. All right. I've got an essay due at midnight, and I've got a page requirement, and I'm gonna fucking meet it.
Yeah.
But closing thoughts here, guys. I really enjoyed it. I really did, and I know that's gonna be a controversial take, especially as someone who is so in love with that original movie. But I just think this story and these characters...
this is a good thing for you.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
now I have two crows to enjoy.
Right, yeah.
And in two different ways, too. I'm not going to sit here and say that this movie is anywhere close to being on par with the first one. But that is because these are two extremely different movies. And I think that's why I didn't let my love of the first one and the differences between them get in the way. Because as far as I'm concerned, they are not even related, right?
Yeah.
Apart from some character names, and even like that's loose, right? Because it's just first names, and then like the basic premise. These are completely different movies. They are different styles of movies. They are trying to do different things, and I think they both do what they're trying to do well in their own ways. All right, so I don't think they're very comparable, and I think that's why I'm able to enjoy it as much as I did. The new characterizations for Shelley and Eric are hit or miss. They worked for me for the most part. It was cringy. I did cringe at a lot of the stuff they were saying. I don't know. Maybe I was in a good mood today, but a lot of the stuff that like is like criticisms and like stuff that I agree with, it wasn't done very well. I just kind of didn't care because I was having a fun time. I thought Bill Skarsgård's performance was fun. I liked the sort of weaselly kind of dweeb guy trying to be a cool action hero and succeeding. He's a fucking badass by the end of the movie. The villains are super one note. I do have one big complaint, and it's a lack of side characters. One of the things the original did so well was its supporting cast. Right. With the police officer and the little girl whose names are escaping me at this moment.
Well, even the minions on the original movie. And then Skank, T-Bird, the Fun Boy.
The band of villains was much more, personable. They all had individual personalities. Yeah. The people we fight in this movie are either nameless thugs or like business moguls, Yeah. But they're I don't feel they're that important for this story. This is a story about Eric. Eric is our main character. We spend pretty much all of the screen time with him, on him, how he's feeling and how he's dealing with the situation he's been put in. And I don't know, I just had a fun time. It's a fun movie. I said it when we left. It's like a junk food version of The Crow. If you want to like feel and like get really deep with it, you watch the 84 one. If you want to have a damn good time,
94 one.
94. Did I say 84?
Yeah.
I don't know why I keep trying to push it back a decade. But if you want to get deep and you want to have that like really, really strong theming, stick with your 94. It's still there, right? That's my take on most things like this. The original movie's still there. Go watch it. It's still great. It is still a phenomenal movie. And this new one, despite all of its flaws and despite all of the flaws that I agree with and I recognize, I don't know. I had a good time. Maybe they caught me on a good day today. I really did not dislike this movie nearly as much as I thought I would. And so that's basically all I have to say about it. You want me to drop the number?
Yeah, what you got?
All right. Guys, this is a 7.75 out of 10.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I'm an absolute minority here. I'm gonna get torn the fuck apart for this.
The obvious problems with this movie, like Brett will take a classic, like some shit like Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he'll find like the problems that are in this movie and put them in that movie and just be like, this is ridiculous. Like the characters are just bad.
I don't know what it is. I can't articulate it. But everything works together in a way that the bad doesn't bother me as much as it does, and the good really shines for me.
That's okay, though.
So I can't explain it, and I don't think it's reasonable, but I enjoyed this movie.
Okay, so I'm going to jump into mine real quick. Mm-hmm. I don't think that this is an action movie everyone will write home about, but I do think this is an action movie that in the future you could be talking to a buddy about and say, you know, that Crow remake, it kind of sucked, but that one scene was fucking awesome, man. Like, hey, have you seen this? And then you're pulling it up on YouTube. I really like that final act, man. I thought it kicked ass. I still feel like it was just written really poorly, and a lot of the dialogue sucked, and there just needed to be a little bit more meat on the bone. If it was going to give me poor characters, poor dialogue, give me more action. So I think it kind of got caught in that, do we try to be heartfelt or do we commit to this new age action? But I didn't have a bad time. I had a pretty good time, to be honest. I think I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay, that's way high. Again, like I just...
Well, I don't think
it's so funny.
I don't think it deserves the extreme lows that it's getting.
No. Most movies don't. Like we said like I said in Rio Grande News, I didn't like Borderlands at all. Like I didn't even have the silver linings for Borderlands that I have for this one.
Right.
And I still don't think it was a 0% movie.
You don't have silver linings for this one. You have like the sunshine.
I really can't explain. I feel kind of stupid, right? You always feel stupid when you enjoy something that everyone else hates. And you're like, it makes you feel dumb. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend I didn't like it when I had a good time. Well,
like I said, it's, there's problems with this movie for sure. But for some of like the reviews are just saying this is like the most terrible, like executed movie they've watched in a long time. Like the worst movie of the year. Like that opera fight sequence alone keeps it from hitting rock bottom like that, in my opinion.
Yeah. And maybe I've been on a losing streak of watching, movies I didn't like that much, like Borderlands and like Long Legs that disappointed me a lot. That maybe I'm just like, maybe now I'm just like looking for something to enjoy, which I don't feel like I am. I don't think I'm stretching that hard. Like I didn't force myself to enjoy it. It all came very naturally. But it does make you feel like kind of like crazy when something is so like universally hated.
See, I would put this up there with the movie that keeps making me think of. This movie keeps making me think of, which I don't think you've ever seen, but it is the movie Predators.
Yeah.
With an S, plural, that came out in like 2010, 2011. And it got bad reviews when it came out. But you ask anybody what they think about that, like fans of the franchise now, and they'll say, that's one of the better ones in the franchise. Because it still delivers on some cool action. It gets the Predators right. You know what I mean? Like, it still has redeeming qualities.
I feel about this movie the same way that I feel about the 2017 Power Rangers movie and the 2014 Ninja Turtles movie. No one really likes...
Very good comparison.
No one really likes those movies. They're remakes of popular things that people felt were done better in the past, but I fucking love those movies, man. Especially the 2017 Power Rangers movie. I don't even have anything bad to say about that movie.
I'd like to go back and rewatch that, because I enjoyed it when it came out.
I really genuinely adore the 2017 Power Rangers movie, and I really, really enjoy the 2014 Ninja Turtles movie. So I don't know. I don't know what it is about them, because, again, those are movies that I can recognize have very obvious flaws, but just the good in those movies and the fun time I had, just like, I just don't really care that much about the bad parts of it.
Well, that's why we're here, to give our opinions and talk about why we did or didn't like something.
But I did definitely think you were going to go lower.
Yeah,
I was thinking you were going to hover around a high 4 or a mid 5.
Well, I was going to go 5.5, but I just like I said, I'm not coming away with it. Like, I felt like my time was wasted. I wasn't mad at the movie. Well, I still like I said, I was rolling my eyes at several lines, especially from FKA Twigs. Shelley's character.
Luckily, she's not in it that much after she's dead.
Yeah, I was glad when she died. Like, get her off the screen, dude. But yeah, so 6 out of 10 for me, 7.75 out of 10 for you.
7. I'll drop it down to a 7.5.
Drop it down to a 7.5?
I'm going to drop it down to a 7.5.
You sure? Don't let me talk you out of it.
No, I'm not going to. No, that's me. 7.75 is too close to an 8 for me. So I'm just going to drop it down to the 7.5. Because I did still really like it. It's a good movie. I will confidently put my foot down and say that The Crow 2024 is a good movie. Or it's a fun movie. There's a difference there. There's a nuance there.
I got you.
But I had a good time. I would recommend people to give it a shot at the very least. And if you don't like it, at least it'll maybe if you don't like it, right? Maybe it'll be like the kind of bad you can laugh at later.
If you like John Wisk, whisking. If you like John Wick,
Gordon Ramsay's new competition show.
if you like John Wick, Judge Dredd type, uber violent action, give it a try. Check it out.
Yeah.
You might like the end of it.
Yeah.
You might like the whole thing.
And let go of your prejudices about it being a remake, because I think it was poorly marketed. This is not a remake. It's not even a reboot. This is absolutely the perfect time to describe a movie as a reimagining. It's not even that. Like, the source material they are adapting in this film is not the same source material they adapted for that original movie. That's why I think you can have both of these cakes and eat them as well, because they are for all intents and purposes completely different movies.
Yep. 100%.
Yep.
That wraps up our review.
That's it for The Crow 2024. So, so go watch it and then come back here and tell us what you thought of it.
Yeah, talk to us. Give us some comments back. Let us know if you think we're right or wrong.
If you didn't like it, don't be too mean to me. I understand that I am on the lower end of the scale here.
I always mess with Brett and call him the hot take king.
I know, I do. And you know what? I kind of wanted to lie. Like, halfway through, when I realized I was really enjoying it, I thought back to what you said when we were talking about the 6%. And you were like, oh, well, now Brett's going to fucking love it.
Yeah.
And it's like, God damn it, he's right. I do like it a lot.
I say that very tongue-in-cheek.
I will genuinely say most of my enjoyment comes from just how much I really clicked with this interpretation of Eric. I really did like his characterization a lot.
I got you.
So, and because he's the forefront of the movie for pretty much the entire runtime, obviously, if he's 90% of the movie and I like him, I like 90% of the movie.
Yeah.
So, but there you go. We'll get you guys out of here. That's enough Crow talk until they do another one, another 30 years down the line. And then maybe that one will be a sci-fi.
So check us out on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's all.
Oh, I was gonna let you go for it. You've never done the socials.
At Real Rendezvous.
Yes.
Just one word.
All one word.
All one word.
Spelled as it always has been.
Yeah. We're too lazy to spell it out here, so
you
come
can
hit us up.
If you're listening to this episode, you can see it pretty much everywhere on your screen right now.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave us a comment, tweet at us, Instagram at us. We love to hear from you guys. We are up to 238 subscribers, I think, at the current moment. Getting bigger every day. We cannot thank you guys enough for your continued support. And I really hope this episode doesn't lose me my credentials.
Later, guys.
Bye.